For the year 2020, I am making a video review for every new movie I see, whether in theaters or at home. And on January 25th, I saw Uncut Gems. Welcome to my year in movies. This is Talking to Myself. So unlike some of the other reviews that I've done, I am recording this one pretty soon after watching it, so I don't have my notes written out, because for every other movie up until Uncut Gems, I've had to reconstruct my thoughts on it. But for this one, I'm going to try and just give as raw a reaction to it as I can. I will try to avoid spoiling it as much as possible. There is one plot point I will be spoiling. It's not major. It's just something that happens. I won't give context for it at all. And I'll try to cushion it as much as possible. So Uncut Gems has kind of had a lot of buzz surrounding it, with good reason. And I will try to cover as much of the movie as possible before I even touch on Adam Sandler, because I want to devote as much time to just him as I can. So Uncut Gems is a 2019 film from the Safdie brothers starring Adam Sandler, and it follows the story of Howard Ratner, who is a New York jeweler living in the Diamond District, who has a compulsion for high-stakes gambling and has recently come into possession of an Ethiopian black opal. So I know very little about the Safdie brothers. I know that their movies are very high-stakes, high-energy. Sorry if you hear my cats in the background. They're playing in cardboard boxes. But they're known for very high-stakes, high-energy movies, high-tension scenarios, and for getting performances out of actors that a lot of people have written off. In 2017, they released Good Time starring Robert Pattinson, and that was definitely a bit of a paradigm shift for Pattinson. A lot of people started to pay attention and take him seriously, even though he'd been putting in good work up until then. But anyway, so for Uncut Gems, that same frenetic energy is present here. A lot of people have described the movie as like a panic attack, and that is not wrong. One of the things they do that is super effective is not only do you have these high tension situations, but none of the background noise is cut out. So anytime people are having a conversation, you get the ambient noise, you get the conversations of people happening around the characters, and everyone talks over top of each other. And so you have all of these characters yelling all the time, and they're yelling at top voice, and you have cars flying by. Creates tension because as people are being threatened or as people are fighting, it's not just that. You can't only focus on what's happening. Your brain is being bombarded with other images and sounds that just raise your blood pressure, and it's very effective, and it's so cool. I really like it as an effect. They also have the camera feel very natural, but also claustrophobic at the same time. So it's almost like they have grabbed you by your shirt collar and they're dragging you to all of these events all over New York City, and you're just along for the ride, and there's nothing else you can do. The music, they do really cool things with the sound mixing for the music. Like, they go to a club at one point, and the music, you feel it more than hear it, which is very accurate to being in a club, I think. The filming on location, I think, also helps raise the stakes. It all feels more immediate because we can recognize those locations, and so when people have firearms in those locations, it's like, oh, there are probably real people here. I think a couple other reviewers have pointed out that the extras in the film look very natural, and sometimes people have cast doubts on whether or not they even are extras and if they're just not civilians out in the scene, which is really cool. The supporting cast is great. Idina Menzel was really funny as Howard Ratner's wife, Dinah. They don't have a lot of scenes together, but the scenes that they do have together, Sandler and Menzel are really good. And I enjoyed getting to see her in a role that wasn't necessarily super clean cut, but I enjoyed seeing her in this. I think she was a good fit for Sandler. The guy who played Arno was really good. I don't recall his name. I think it's Bogosian. He was great. There was a lot going on behind his eyes that if I watch it again, I want to watch his eyes specifically. Because there's a lot going on with his character that I didn't pick up on the first time through. Okay, so I think that's all I wanted to touch on before getting to Sandler. Hi, it's been a couple days. In my haste to discuss Adam Sandler, I forgot to mention three of the supporting actors in Uncut Gems that are kind of important to the story, just a little important. So I'm going to briefly talk about Lakeith Stanfield, Julia Fox, and Kevin Garnett. So Lakeith Stanfield plays Damani, who is an associate of Howard's, and Lakeith Stanfield is tremendous. He had a good year this past year. He was really good in Knives Out, and he's really good here too. Those two roles feel like polar opposites. What makes Damani as a character interesting is he's almost like a foil for Howard in a way. Like, they're both still very ambitious. They're both still out to make money, but the strategies they use to go about doing that are very different. And Damani is very slick. He's very clever. He's, I don't know, he's another character where I think there's so much more happening that we don't see or that we don't experience because Howard is such an attention suck that it's difficult to see what all Damani is after. But he's a really interesting character, and Lakeith brings a lot of dimension to it, and I think he does a really good job. Julia Fox, initially she seemed very basic as a character, you know, like the stereotypical girlfriend who takes advantage of the married guy's money. And I was expecting her to be annoying. And she's annoying, but in a way similar to how Howard is annoying, in that they're both very loud and very obnoxious and clearly meant for each other. But the Safdies are very careful with how they use Julia in the film, and she serves a bigger purpose than just being the side piece. As she exercises more agency, is more self-sufficient, I came to like her character more. And I also appreciated there are a couple of scenes that kind of show that she does genuinely care about Howard, and it seems like she does genuinely love him, which to me felt almost out of place, like especially considering, you know, he's a diamond seller, and, you know, she's living in his apartment and throwing parties in his apartment and just kind of taking advantage of the fact that she works for him. So the fact that she does genuinely care about him is kind of an interesting way to take the character, you know, and I really liked that. So, you know, good for Julia Fox. I think this is her, from what I read, it's like her second appearance in film overall, but it's like her big breakout film debut. So good for Julia Fox. I hope she continues to do cool stuff. I also want to talk about Kevin Garnett, and I want to commend him for bringing a very skilled performance to a very weird part himself. To play oneself in a film beyond, you know, like a one-off cameo, especially in a comedy, if your role has any more depth than that, it's a really difficult thing, especially when your real self is supposed to have consequences in this fake world, but those fake consequences are supposed to have a real effect on you, who has a real history that the filmmakers can draw on. And I know nothing of Kevin Garnett as a basketball player. From watching other people talk about the movie, it seems like he's very ruthless on the court, not above fighting dirty. I don't know, because I don't watch professional basketball. But he helps ground the film in a kind of reality also, because it's his performance as a basketball player that affects Howard's success as a character, and Howard's success as a character affects Kevin Garnett as a character. And it's a very tight balance to maintain, but he does a tremendous job. I was really impressed. So much so that he didn't even feel like it was really Kevin Garnett, which may just be because I don't know Kevin Garnett as a basketball player. But yeah, he did a really good job. He interacted well with the other actors, and they did a good job with his character. All right, now I have talked about everything I wanted to talk about before getting to Adam. So cut back to past me, we'll keep going. Oh my goodness. Howard Ratner is one of the most obnoxious, annoying, skeezy, reckless, selfish characters I have ever witnessed on film. And I loved the character to death, and that is because of Adam Sandler. Like, the accolades that he has been getting online are well deserved. There is not another soul alive that I can think of who could talk for the entire runtime of the movie at full volume, be a selfish, terrible person. And then with a smile, instantly win me back over. The role was written for Sandler, and you can tell it's meant for him because it builds off of our existing knowledge of Sandler and his career and the roles he plays. And people have even pointed out that this is a role that says, let's take the man-child that he plays in a lot of his movies and let's put it in middle age in high-stakes situations. What does that look like? What kind of chaos does that bring onto regular people? And because he's so charismatic, you can watch him wheel and deal and have enormous sums of money just skip across his hand from one thing to the next, and you aren't angry at him. You're like, I can't believe you're doing this. I have to watch. I was thinking about it as I was driving home. I don't think there's another actor out there who could have played a role like this and have it be as effective. You know, like Leonardo DiCaprio is a great actor, but I don't think he has that it factor that Sandler has, you know, and I was thinking of a bunch of award-winning actors, and none of them, they'd be missing something. Again, that may just be because the role was written for Sandler, but I do think there is so much going on. It's just so good. Like, even if we as a culture forget the name of the movie, we're gonna remember Sandler's performance. We can forget the Safdies, the plot points, we can forget anything, but Sandler's performance knocks it out of the park. He absolutely crushed it because he manages to be this high-strung, frenetic, chaotic agent of selfishness. And as things go wrong, you know, he panics and he freaks out. But when things actually go wrong, he just kind of rolls with it. The scene I'm going to spoil, and I'll put the timestamp for when it's over, he gets stripped and thrown into the trunk of his car. And when that happens, he like half-heartedly pounds on the roof of the trunk and kind of yells help casually, and then calls his wife and asks her to unlock the trunk. And he had clothes in the trunk of his car, so he knew it was gonna happen. And he just rolls with it, and it's such a good performance. I want to watch it again just to watch Sandler all over again. Because wow, it's so good. I'll be curious to see how people examine this movie in the future. There's a throwaway line in kind of a group discussion on jewishcurrents.org. That may not be the name of the website, but they have an article titled "An Unserious Man" where they discuss it. That article has spoilers though, which we'll get to. And they go into how it compares to the Coen brothers' 2009 film "A Serious Man," and how those movies discuss Jewish identity. So I'm very curious as to how Uncut Gems will fit into that discourse in the future. So overall, for production value, I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. It's such a perfectly crafted movie. In terms of personal enjoyment, it was a bit of a slow burn. Initially, I wasn't quite on board. It took me a lot to get into the Safdie's style of ambient noise cranked up to 11. But Sandler, you know, kicks into overdrive and just carries the film for the entire runtime. So once he starts talking, that helps a lot. And with 45 minutes to go, I could definitely feel myself on the edge of my seat, gripping the seat in front of me, begging to know what was going to happen next. So because it took a bit to get kind of into that, I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10. But in terms of rewatchability, I'd say that's about a 9 out of 10. It has a lot going for it. There's always something different to watch. So that's a 10, an 8, and a 9, which is 27, is a 9 out of 10 overall. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not for everyone, but it's definitely worth watching if you want to see Sandler do something incredible, if you want a high-stakes film, if you want a true thriller. This is that in spades. So in terms of spoilers, obviously this review touched on a couple, but if you haven't seen the trailer, if you haven't clicked on, you know, any articles about it, don't spoil it for yourself. I had it spoiled by a comment under the trailer, and I did, because like I wasn't sure if I wanted to see it even, and I was like, I don't care about the ending. But then I saw the ending spoiled, and I went, oh no, I didn't care. I cared how this was gonna go. So as much as you can, don't spoil it. I will say that knowing the ending didn't ruin my enjoyment. I still very much enjoyed the film, even knowing where it was going to go. But even though I knew where it was going to go, I didn't know when we were going to get there, because trailers throw off my perception of time. So it's a tremendous film, and it's definitely worth experiencing as fully as possible. When this review comes out, it may be out of theaters, but try to save yourself for this movie. P.S. I am very upset that Adam Sandler is not going to get recognized by any organization for his performance in this film. Obviously, people are talking about it online, and that's huge, but he definitely deserved a nomination of some kind, because this is tremendous. I absolutely love this performance. See you on Uncut Gems. This has been My Year in Movies. Thank you for watching.